Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back. We are dealing with our 3D shapes in this math lesson, and I wanted to show you some new shapes. I need you to get out your math pages 705 to 710, and it's going to say comparing solid shapes. But as I promised yesterday, I want to show you a couple of new shapes, new three-dimensional shapes. But let's review what we've learned so far. So we're going to go all the way back to our flat shapes. These are our flat two-dimensional shapes here. We've got a circle and we've got a square. We've got a circle and a square. And so we learned that a two-dimensional shape is flat, a three-dimensional shape is solid. You can see all of that shape. So I'm rolling this sphere around in my hand. You can see all of the shapes. So circle, sphere, and then to review, we have square and cube, square and cube. Okay, then we learned about two new shapes. We learned about a cylinder, which is a can-like object like this, and we learned about a cone. And remember, a cone kind of looks like an ice cream cone or a party hat like this. Now, here are the two cool new shapes that I want to show you. And I'm going to leave the cone here to show you the difference, and I'm going to actually bring back my cube to show you the difference. We don't get to do a lot of work with these next shapes, but I do want to show them to you. So I'm going to show you this shape right here, boys and girls. This shape right here, it comes to a point like the cone does. It's got triangular shape sides or faces like this. And then the bottom of this shape is a square, not a circle. This, boys and girls, is a pyramid. It's a pyramid. It's a pyramid. Kind of looks like a tent. Like if you were going to go camping, it looks like it would be like a triangular shaped tent like this. Okay? So the difference is it's got a square shaped bottom and it's got flat triangular shaped sides. It is a pyramid. You can actually look up the pyramids in Egypt. They're actually pyramids made of stone. Then I want to bring back the cube. Now the cube looks like the shape of a square. All of the sides of the cube are the same size. So if you look, you can look at every face, and the sides of every face are the same size. But let's look at this one. Boys and girls, this is kind of shaped like a box. Think of like a tissue box or a shoe box. This is the shape of a box. Its faces are rectangles. They're flat. So you've got short sides and you've got long sides. Boys and girls, the name of this cool shape is a rectangular prism. A rectangular prism. Now, I want to show you one other shape, and that is this shape right here. It's got a triangle face, and then if you look, it looks like a tent that has been stretched out. It's got triangles on both ends. It's got rectangle faces like this. Boys and girls, this is a triangular prism. So those are just some new cool shapes that I wanted to show you guys, some new solid shapes that we haven't looked at yet before. So now we're going to compare the four shapes that we've learned so far in this unit. So if you look back, we have a cylinder or a can. We have a sphere, which is ball shape. We have a cube, and we have a cone. Okay, now let's look at these shapes. Now, I want to see, I'm going to bring them all back, so I'm going to put some on the table here with me. Okay, now I want to look at what we know about these shapes, and I'm going to pull the sphere first. So the sphere has no flat sides, no corners on it. It's round, boys and girls. This is a shape that can roll, and so if you look, I'm just doing some small rolls with it, like this. A sphere can roll, and it can roll in any direction. Think of it as a ball. A sphere can roll. Now, looking at these, what other shapes do you think that can roll pretty well? Let's look at the cube. The cube, can the cube roll? No, I can flip it, but I can't roll it. Let's look at this shape. Boys and girls, what shape was this? This was the cylinder or the can. Let's try this one. Boys and girls, this shape can roll too. Now it can't roll in every direction, but if you lay it on its curved side, it can roll. So if you look at this shape, there are no flat sides, there are no corners on this cylinder. So we're going to put the cylinder and the sphere over here in this corner. Okay, now we're going to look at the cone. We've already talked about the cube. I'm going to put the cube back here. Okay, now let's look at the cone. Can the cone roll? Well, it doesn't roll anywhere, right? It just kind of twists around in a circle. And so I'm going to put it here and kind of show you that if you move this, it can roll just kind of around on its side, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't really go anywhere. So it has really one point, but no sides. No sides. So it can roll a little bit, but this point prevents it from rolling like the cylinder and the sphere. Now, the other thing you can do about comparing shapes is you can look at stackable shapes. Think about when you build with blocks or Legos that you can put shapes on top of each other and they will stand on top of each other and not really fall down. Those are stackable shapes. So look, I can stack a couple of these shapes on top of each other like this. Let me kind of turn that so you can see it. Good. And so I can take the flat ends of those and I can stack those on top of each other. I can stack those on top of each other. Now the one that wouldn't stack in these would be the sphere. Now, while it will balance a little bit, you really couldn't put anything else on that without it just falling off. Okay? So, ways to compare shapes, whether they stack, whether they roll. The other one would be whether or not a shape can slide. I'm not lifting it, I'm just sliding this shape. Okay? So you can tell whether a shape can slide. I can slide all of the flat surfaces like this and slide them into. So this one doesn't really slide, it still rolls. Now I can hold it still, and slide it across the paper. But this one is a better roller. This is a better roller. Okay, good job, boys and girls. That was working with those 4 shapes that we have been looking at so far. Now what I want you to do is I want you to turn the page and we're going to look at page 706 together, 706 together. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the movements these shapes can make. And we're going to look at this first row here with these silly puppies. Okay, if you look at number 1, the word we're going to look at is roll. Roll. And I want you to remember, we looked at shapes that roll. So this dog is rolling over, but we're looking at shapes that roll. So I want you to look at these 3 shapes, and I want you to, we're going to look at the shapes that roll. We're going to look at the shapes that roll. Remember, each of these shapes could roll in certain directions, right? So when a shape does not have flat sides, they can roll. This can, or the cylinder, can roll because it has that nice round piece in the middle right there. So these are shapes that can roll. These are shapes that can roll. The next vocabulary word, or the math word we're going to look at, is stack. Stack. And if you look, these puppies have stacked themselves on top of each other. They have put one puppy on top of the other like this into a stack. A stack. And if you look, we have these shapes right here that you can stack on top of each other. Now we did look at the cone in the other page. That would have to be the top shape. You can't stack anything on top of the cone. You could only use that one flat size. So we're going to say good stackers, good stack shapes would be your cube and again your cylinder if it sat on either of its flat sides like this. Now the next movement we talk about, the next math word is a slide, And if you look, this puppy is sliding across the floor. And the shapes that we saw that were good sliders were your cube, your cone, and your cylinder. Those were our sliders. Remember that that sphere still rolled. It has no flat shapes at all to slide across anything. So, good job looking at those. Now we're going to look at number 4. We're going to identify the shape of the first objects in the roll. This is all three the same shape. They're different sizes. You can stack them. But what shapes are these? If you said that they're cylinders, you are correct. You want to find the cylinders in the row, circle them, and put X's on the shapes that do not match these. Pause the video if you need to. Excellent job, boys and girls. You have the cylinder here. Good job. Now, the next thing that I want you to do in this is I want you to think about what all shapes in this row will stack. Will stack just like the cylinder. Okay? Now, we know this is the same thing as a cylinder, but it also stacks. So we not only found the same one, but we also found one that stacks. Now look at this shape. This is a cube. Will it stack like the cylinders? If you need a clue, go back to your math words up here. But you should know that a cube is also a stacking object. So we're going to go ahead and circle the cube as well. It's not the same shape, but it is also a stackable object. Now let's look at this one here in the end. Will a sphere stack? No. Let's put an X on the sphere. Excellent job, boys and girls. Now, let's look at number 5 together. We have a shape here. This actually, boys and girls, is a tennis ball. What shape is a ball? If you said a sphere, you're right. Now, think about what movement a ball does or a sphere does. The one good movement that a ball or a sphere does is it rolls. Now, I want you to look at this row right here. Do you see any shape that's the exact same size and shape as this? Nope, and that's okay. Now look at its movement. What movement does this do, boys and girls? It rolls. Which of these shapes is a good roller? I want you to circle the shapes that roll. If you need help, boys and girls, go back up to your math words and find the good rolling shapes. So this shape here is a cylinder. Does the cylinder roll? Yes, it does. When it lays on its curved side, it rolls. What about this one, boys and girls? This shape has no curves. It has all flat surfaces. Does this shape roll? No. Let's put an X on that shape. What about this one? That's right, boys and girls. A cone with its curved surface can roll as well. So you should have circled the cone. Excellent job, boys and girls. Go ahead and flip to page 707. Now what I want you to do is you're going to follow the directions on this. Pause the video if you need to, and then you can always come back and check your work. So let's look. This is doing some work on your own. You are looking at row number 6. Row number 6. The first thing I want you to do is identify the shape in that row. Describe it, and then circle the other shapes in that row that can slide, that can make a sliding motion. Okay? So let's look. Let's do this one together. The arrow is showing you how this shape slides. This shape is a cube. It's got those 4 square sides. It's a solid figure with square-shaped faces, sides, and points. This piece can slide. Now let's look at the pieces in this row. I hope you found this one. This one looks very similar to the cube. It also can slide, so let's circle the cube. Now, what do we remember about this shape, boys and girls? Does this have any flat surfaces? No, this is all curves. So will this shape slide? Nope, this shape rolls. You should have put an X on that shape. Now, this could be tricky. Look at this shape right here, boys and girls. Do you remember the name of this shape? This shape is a cone, And while it has a round side, I want you to look at this, boys and girls. I'm going to highlight it for you. This is a flat surface. So if you were to stand that cone up like this, you can move that shape like that in that direction. It's a shape that slides. So you should have circled also the cone. Excellent, boys and girls. Now what I want you to do is I want you to look at number 7. Number 7 shape. I want you to think about what shape that looks like and what movement that shape can do. Now this is a special one because this one actually has 2 different movements, so you're going to have to listen to me to find the shapes that can do the same thing, So if you look, you should have said that this shape is a cylinder, Now we're looking for the motion of this shape that can roll, What about this shape makes it a shape that can roll? That's right, boys and girls. It is this curved piece that is around the middle of the cylinder. So I want you to look at these 3 shapes here and tell me which ones of these can roll like the cylinder. Pause the video, think about what about these shapes, which ones of these can roll, Okay, boys and girls, I hope you remembered that all 3 of these shapes were shapes that can roll. The cone can roll with its curved side, the cylinder can roll with its curved side, and the sphere can roll with its curved side. Excellent job. Now, boys and girls, on number 8 and number 9, you're going to get to draw something so you can be creative. What I want you to do on number 8 is name this shape and then draw something that is a similar shape to this one. Pause the video and do that now. Now there's many things that you can draw, boys and girls, that can be this shape. I'm going to go ahead and draw one of my favorite vegetables. So I'm going to put a circle at the top and I'm going to make it look 3-dimensional like this so you can look and see that you can see that face and you can see this side. So I think of a can, and one of my favorite veggies look like this. And so I've drawn a can of peas. Now you can draw anything that is in the shape of a cylinder for number 8. Good job. Now I want you to look at number 9 and I want you to draw a shape that would stack just like these. Pause the video and do that now. Okay, boys and girls, I'm going to go back to my study and I'm going to show you a secret to drawing a cube. So what I want you to do is draw a square that looks like that. Now the next thing I want you to do is I want you to draw another square like this. Pause the video so it looks like you have 2 squares together. We're going to make this look 3-dimensional by filling in those lines. Boys and girls, isn't that cool? So you've made a cube just like the stackable cubes. Now if you didn't want to be that creative, you could have made a dice that looks like this, and I'm just going to put a number 1 on there and make a dice. A dice is also something that can stack. Now when you have finished that, take your time, but when you finish that, go ahead and flip to page 708, and you're going to need those crayons out again. So find your crayons, pause the video if you need to. Now boys and girls, we've learned about what this is back in one of our other packet pages. And this, remember, is called a thought bubble. So this is showing you something that this little boy is thinking about in his head. Now we can't actually see his thoughts, so we have drawn what's called a thought bubble. And so we're going to guess that he is thinking about a castle. We are thinking about a castle. Now what I want you to do is I want you to look at these shapes on the carpet. I want you to find a shape that rolls. I want you to find a shape that can stack, and I want you to find a shape that can slide. I want it to be a shape that can do all three of those things. There's only one of those shapes that can do all three, that can roll, stack, and slide. And I want you to color that shape orange. Pause the video, and then I will tell you what shape that was. Boys and girls, the only shape on this red carpet that can roll, stack, and slide, boys and girls, was your cylinder. So I hope you colored your cylinder orange. Excellent job. Now I want you to find a shape that only can slide and roll. It cannot have a shape stacked on top of it. That is your clue. It cannot have a shape that is stacked on top of it. And I want you to color that one purple. So its movement is slide and roll, but you cannot stack a shape on top of it. Pause the video and color that shape purple. Boys and girls, did you guess that to be our cone? You guys are too smart. That's right, the cone can slide and roll. It can go on top of another object, but you can't stack an object on top of the cone. All right, boys and girls, now we're going to look for a shape that only slides and stacks. Only slides and stacks. And I want you to color that shape yellow. Pause the video and find it. You should only have two shapes left. So look at the two shapes you have left. Find one that only slides and stacks and color that shape yellow. Boys and girls, did you find our cube and color our cube yellow? Great job. Now you only have one shape left, and so you already know that you're going to color this shape. You're going to color this shape blue, but I want you to think about the only motion, the only movement that this shape can do is roll, and that is your sphere. Oh, awesome job, boys and girls. Now you're going to move on to the homework section of this packet. It's on page 709 and 710. And you are going to need your parents to read you the directions, because you are going to be looking for the movements in each of these shapes. I'll go over them quickly, so if you want to just pause the video, you can do that. So in rows 2 and 3, the arrows show you what movement you are looking for in each row. So in row 2, you are looking for shapes that will stack. Shapes that will stack. You're going to circle the shapes that will stack. In number 3, you are looking for the shapes that can roll. The shapes that can roll. You can pause the video, or you can have your parents read these to you. Now, you're going to do the same thing in the back. If you can read the words roll, stack, and slide, you know that that is the movement you are looking for in each of these rows. So go ahead and finish that and pat yourself on the back, because you guys have done a great job so far using these three-dimensional shapes. Join me tomorrow.